Okay, the meeting is now started. His attendance.
He was supposed to be, oh no, he had shoulder surgery. He's supposed to call in. Let me text him. He was supposed to be able to call in.
See him. Soon.
Well, the only thing I would add is the storage issue, if we want to add that to the agenda.
Okay, where would you like to add?
I suppose that could go under education.
Any public comment? The two of you. Okay. So we have was a note that came to Jennifer when the public. She gave it to me thinking that we own that, and then Jim's response was, it's open if you want to use it without the dock, but the dock is not going in until the dredging is done, and the dredging is hopefully going to be done by Memorial. So I responded to that and I heard back, so I think that's okay. Assignments. Let me see if I can't find here. I want to go through these fairly quickly. You know, this AI thing is giving us assignments, so.
I was very comfortable with how many times my name was there.
It was there a bunch, but a lot of them are done. So what I'm gonna do is just go through and cross them off. So do we still want to brainstorm this appreciation for long-term members? I mean, again, let's just in consideration of all the things we have to do. If you want to take that
I
on.
would think that at this point, that if we take that offline, because it's not gonna be, the township can't pay. So it just be the people showing thanks and.
Said enough, it's off the list. Michelle to reach out, pre-research it. Okay, so this one I think is now going to Chelsea. So I think this one is good. And then the next one was Michelle declare and share the written process of the Port St. Lucies project lifecycle meeting.
Right.
Just got the strike through. Tyler to bring handicap signage. You bring that handicap sign yet?
Yes.
Okay. Man, grab that thing so that I don't forget it and I'll go out. Michelle, is this the second one from the left that's thing on it, doesn't have a sign above it?
Right, that's
All right.
Also, did we
call.
blow by minutes from last month?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I told you, stop. Get ahead of myself. Yeah, so prior minutes, did anybody look at those?
I did, and that's why I brought it up, because there was one thing that I just caught now. It's something I said about the stream monitoring and E. coli. Tyler mentioned tribal involvement in stream monitoring. I think I mentioned the conservation district's involvement in stream. So,
all right, could you do me a favor? Take that sentence that you don't like, turn it into a sentence that you like, and give it to me, and then I'll make that mention. Okay, is there any other alterations to the minutes, or is there a motion to X the minutes with the change that was just suggested? Motion to pass.
Second, as amended.
Okay. Discussion. As soon as it gets to them.
Now that I see that was in February, I already did that. I talked about the support.
So like all that is like the first time it came in.
Yeah. I did talk about the life cycle of projects reports. I did it last. Yes.
These will all be new to everybody unless you look at the minutes. The mesh tubes, that's done, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Then the You have introduced Chelsea to the appropriate people, and then you are the lead representative. Just
suggest on things like that is I just send you an email and it goes out with, we don't need to discuss it unless there's something to be discussed.
I think I'm sure. So, yeah, issue 3, year 20.
Yeah,
Because
I got
when
3.
we first started this, we were all sucked into existing ones, so that we all come off in groups of 2. And it was put into the group about 2 years ago. And so now my cycle ends this coming month,
that doesn't mean you're jumping ship at the end of this year.
not necessarily.
I like that politically correct.
Just a bit bigger.
Suggestion,
Can that be just a bit bigger? Almost.
then you have to check my one.
Uh,
So,
Slide bar lower right, 100%
I see it.
by the plus.
So,
I can read. Did get that.
you sent me a note on using this one.
Mhm.
Okay, but we haven't, so you wanna leave it there because we may need that, I think, discussion today. Did you get a chance to look at the website?
I did,
Any other comments?
I do.
Okay, so,
Whatever you were printing, I don't know if it know.
no, I was just trying to print a flyer for Michelle.
Oh, okay.
We can. Saw that, so I'll leave that there. Then we also talked about, listing things on the website of the things that have happened over the last 2 years, and I like, so I want to leave that in some points. Anyway, those were the.
Minor thing is Knuckles has actually got a K in. It's kind of silly. Yeah, that's that is the region that Onekama is in for Michigan Association. Yeah,
So now. Okay, so then let's see if I'm skilled enough to get to the agenda. I think that's over here. There we go. And now I think we are at Village Township joint efforts. Nikki, Michelle, got anything?
did email Mickey.
She did throw an email. at
Yeah,
us.
we did have communication.
That's survey.
No. No, I emailed him doing a joint event. Village help. There's all, yeah.
Chip, anything going?
So I can send out the rest of the.
Education program, lots happening here, and storage of event materials happens to be there.
Okay, so folks, I know you are so tired of hearing me talk about storing our materials, and it ended up, this has been like a multi-year quest to have like to storage place for Gina and I to store stuff. What happened yesterday is for the first time, we went to go and assess our supplies, and they were all in cardboard boxes. And some of the cardboard boxes actually disintegrated, we had mice, we had bugs. Luckily, there wasn't anything that was severely damaged. The things that they got into could be easily replaced. But I just think that if we're gonna continue to take seriously our programming, at least we should be able to have plastic containers. And then the other thing that happened is we got to Dave's barn and we're like, oh, wait, where's the volleyball net? Where's the canopy? Where's these other things? Because it's not all in one place, now they're all over and now everyone's scratching their head, like, where is the canopy?
So we have no objections to renting storage. The last time I checked, there was none down at this place behind.
I think there's a sign up.
I know there is now.
Okay.
There is no objection to us. But I think you may have the same mice problem there. If your request is to buy plastic right now,
Plastic
Buy it.
containers. Okay,
yeah, I mean, we have supplies budget to do that. And I mean, how much are you talking about? But like,
Each total.
You're
is
talking about-
$10.
yeah,
on average,
and I
whether
probably
you're
need-
using-
they went 14 help you. So,
you're talking under $100.
so, and then,
Off the list at the fund, so they don't get. And I do recommend, what I use on a regular basis is the pylons, what are they called? The crates on the floor in the storage to keep it, the plastic off the floor.
Well, it was in an apple bin.
Yep. Echo.
okay, so, I mean, there's the board, we can have this sort of discussion with the board, one more time, that, there's still open discussion on Parks and Rec about storage, and it's just one of those things that just keeps going from meeting to meeting to meeting, here. But it just never happens, so I mean, I will add that, things to bring to the board meeting if this team wants me to. But I mean, I think we can solve the issue that you're talking about.
Yeah, right now for the plastic, yes. I think the one of the other reasons is we keep kicking back and forth. Is this storage just for like the educational materials, or is this education plus the fire?
Well, we have out.
Rings and
We
the-
can put our stuff. That stuff can go. So I don't think we have.
Insulin stuff. You just need something that's not. Like, you need a mouse proof, nice area.
The
I have a
reason
dry
why-
area for like. Mouse.
Well, the other thing is where they're sorting it through. And it can be solved. I'm not saying it can't be solved, but it would be nice to have a single place. Like the net.
So just tell me what you want me to say. I mean,
I think renting a storage unit is a good solution.
Renting a storage unit for now?
Yes.
Oh, that'd be nice. Is there something?
Well, that was kicked back in the past.
anytime we did this 2 years ago.
Exactly.
At the inn, at this place right behind the fairgrounds. I thought I saw a sign that there is now. Go down there and rent it, see what it costs, and I'll bring it to the next board meeting and say, can we please do this? Because that's not, we didn't budget for it, but I have no idea what it's gonna cost, but you don't need it there.
No, if it's just the programming stuff, no. I would say, I mean, the biggest thing we have is the canopy.
No, Shania,
I'm sorry?
I know, Shania.
Okay.
Okay, so then comes the update January. So, any other updates? Because I could have cleaned that up.
Need to take that assignment of pricing out storage.
Because I know what the dimensions I need are. Appreciate that though.
So,
The update is we have everything for the zip ties. Jean said you had told her she needed zip ties. She's working on the zip ties. We have everything we need. Oh, for that, if I may, I don't know where this comes up, but Paul met with the irrigation company yesterday with me on the phone and to quote they've been using. The irrigation, which will support the 50 trees that planting is part of.
You know, this week, the school, and just they're kind of brainstorming what things they can throw out for projects moving forward every year. So Kurt came and there's nothing to do there this year really. But I suggested that a good activity for some of the groups might be a garlic mustard. If we find out that we have garlic mustard, big timing. Yeah, so once we have Schillinger, that would be a good idea for next year's activity. Well, maybe we have treat, but they're looking to split up by age group, so relatively young kids. So
Well, in your opinion, how many, like, is that something, should we plant 50 trees a year? Now, once we've got these, I mean, cause, but what if we have the irrigation there? You know, in that wetlands, north. How many trees do you think we could? This year?
to the wetlands and have kids necessarily planting in the wetlands very easily. There's probably room to do it, whether kids are the best ones to do it. Like, you could always think about other species in other areas of other.
Yeah, well,
So-
the cedars, were one that Josh had told us, we need to get on.
The cedars are not gonna regenerate naturally without protection with the amount of deer received. So it's a good priority species, but you could always think about adding some shrub components around the cedar wetlands. Or even doing something in that little wetland pocket, little. Things. So they're like reaching out to like Acadia and other venturing further out.
There's certainly more things to be done that, I mean, give me 15 minutes, I could come up with more things to do in our, sure.
Yeah.
All of us.
About
That,
pines, cutting them.
I don't think we can put chainsaws in the hands
Well,
of
no,
children.
not chainsaw, they can do the little hands, the little ones can. Yeah, some,
But yeah, so they. And you probably are to attend them. And I think Jean has been attending.
Jean has been attending,
She
we
didn't
have.
attend the last one and totally.
Okay.
But it's fun. Side of the cedar trees, I didn't really have much input on everything else.
Okay. Well,
We need, so.
then I should probably make a to-do list so that people can know.
I think if you just send Yvonne like, hey, like, these are some ideas that we have for this year's event or future events. You know, these are all things that need to be done.
What age are you talking though? You're not talking about kindergarten.
No. Last year was sixth graders and then I think. And those that they, last year was shoot. I think it's the same group did, so. I also know like they want to do science stuff with the kids, but they have one teacher basically for every age group of science.
You can have two, but
Yeah, but one that is, they can,
yeah,
is that they said at the meeting, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, he's
Yeah,
stretched beyond
yeah.
capability.
Well, I don't know if this, well, under education, I should let everybody know, I'm very, very excited that we have the ISD field trip in the morning, which will include ESL, science, and some music. And then First time, kindergarten. This is a collaboration we're doing with the Manistee Library. Excited about it. We do need volunteers for them. This is the point to do the shameless plug, May 21st. If you have time anywhere. You're going to, I guess, go through iChat.
Yeah. So is that sign up? Is that on our website?
No, I have not put that out. I don't generally do that. Wait a minute, I thought you had printed my thing. I guess my thing did. I have a printout of the outline, or I tried to print the outline of the field trip. Generally do those field trips by people that I know. I don't generally publicly post that one.
I think we got conservation district weed. Something right, isn't it? Seedling sale?
Yeah.
The seedlings are picked up and they're in my garage.
Sent, April 20. So she said, hello, just want to let you know I'm working away on the project for the Portage wetlands. Chris Garlick finished up the stewardship line items for their budget yesterday morning. I'm waiting on Jen to submit her communication costs. She's on vacation this week, so she won't get numbers until next week. Staff's been in and out on vacation because it's spring break recently. Spoke with the attorney about the process of vacating the platted roads. Got an idea of details and hope for her to complete the process if we move forward. And she's got a meeting scheduled with the Nature Conservancy on May 5th to discuss the future of their holdings in that area, Portage Point Woods and Tower Preserve. She was making a trip out there the other day to review a few things on the ground. She's really hoping to have the budget with and without a boardwalk fully wrapped up by next week. If you're open to it, I think we get together to sit down in person to review that budget and manage together. So.
ASAP, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I said, yeah, let's go. I emailed her daddy about that. Said I could move on time. So.
Well, so I was gonna question that's in sure we're in the May, which is good, but. Right. Yeah, so they really love spring, so I'm sure you can schedule it.
Okay, yeah.
Tuesday. Please, schedule that meeting. See how far we're down.
Is Al, the original committee, is that still
Well,
part of it? And I thought you put Jane on it.
single point of contact,
Part of that, yeah.
we have a subcommittee that is no longer containing ants. See what. So we can budget up, if we have interest,
Yeah.
then we should really sit in. See, so. It's a.
I think what they wanna do is look at the big picture. They wanna see, you know, if we do all of this, how much is it gonna cost? Say, is it what you want? Should we change things? Because we've been initially talking more about it. Was kind of the interest on it. Now. Land acquisition and holding, so. Making things solid, and then seeing what could this look like, and then what we do with it.
Somewhere around McGowan Creek, which is just an unbelievable, beautiful creek that goes under the land and comes up. It's just a magnificent spot.
So without the boardwalk, it would just theoretically be a path then?
Nothing at all. No, it would just be conserving the land. That's my point is we can conserve the land. So let's, although if we get them involved, then there's an impetus to actually go to the donor community and get those last two pieces bought up and prevent the kind of crap of stuff we got going on. Reason I would want to stay involved, sure. Okay, anything else on wetlands?
A quick question, please, for clarification. So if we are collaborating, does that mean that the only way that they would collaborate is if we develop it?
No,
I just need.
no, there's a few things going on. They're in the discussion that they want to deal with the Nature Conservancy. Are you familiar with Portage Point Woods?
Yeah.
Okay, that's owned by Nature Conservancy.
Oh, okay.
And then there is other properties that between the Nature Conservancy and the wetlands that don't in with them to donate. They don't want it for the Nature Conservancy as a standalone piece, but as a piece that joins this would make just a magnificent property. So I think that really piqued their interest.
Yeah.
And then also, I think GTRLC wants to get into Manistee County to get acquainted with the donor community down here. That's a big draw for them. So they run. Okay. Districts, let's you and I do the.
So so for recommendations for the website, there's only two things that I would. One is the big one would be the QR. I went to all the parks and I used the QR thinking that maybe it would give me a different link, and it didn't. It takes you right to the main page. And in that QR link is all out-of-date information. When you hit it, it lists right away as board members. When I'm a tourist and I hit a QR, the very first thing I don't want to see is names of who I would contact on the. I want.
And it's supposed to take
content.
you to our main page. That was my QR code. It's supposed to take you to our main page because it was in such a process at the time that we made the signs. We are able to put
Right here.
it should take you to that.
Correct, it does, but when you go ahead and scroll up, so it takes you to a link. So what I'd like to say is this is beautiful when it takes you, but you're on a desktop or a laptop. I'm talking about a phone. When I go into the park and I scan right away, it does. I gotta say that.
We don't have the content for each park.
Okay, so all I'm is that's okay. And that's obvious when I click on going further. So it brings to this. So first of all, just content wise, the board members need to be updated. So that part right away. So if we're gonna go and we're gonna look at the website, we have to do a little bit of update.
He's not.
I thought I
and
updated.
Paul's still there. So that part, but what I'd like to just pass on from an observation is when the content is there. However, when I click on that, when I want a map right away. I want to be able to click and get the map link to how I walk around North Point. And how I walk around Glen Park, which I haven't figured out yet. Or how I would get, so,
Don't go too far, you'll get shot.
no, I don't, but. So that was my biggest input, is that you guys wanted feedback, what is out of date? That one I just want to pass on, that when I use that QR on my phone, what I'd like to be able to do is come here, but immediately see eye contact, maps. And if I click on the information of each township park, that one link that says Township Park, it doesn't give me anything other than a quick description of each park. It doesn't give me a link to say, okay, now that I'm done hiking with Glen Park, I could go to North Point. I could pull up the map and find it. But if we want people who are coming to our community to invest their time into our place,
And
we have
cut to the chase, we know all of the, that was all on me, and so we know all this. It took me 2 years to get a map, 3 books. And they're. So that is a whole, when I'm handing stuff off to Jean, these are the kind of things I wanna get into. And the descriptions, even for the parks that we have, some of them are outdated because they've just been going decades. It's definitely an area that the committee should take on. It's a matter of bandwidth.
Let's do some incremental steps.
That's fine. I didn't know any of the back.
No, that's great feedback because it circles back around and says, yes, we do need to get back to that. That is important.
Why did it take long to get maps?
Was in con-
So then, should we get cost estimates for maps?
They were $2,000 a piece.
I think it's something to look at. I think when you're, to your point, when you go there, you want to get exactly the data. So you might as well not even do it if you're going to a main point trying to find it. I
Okay,
agree.
it's a nice step in the right
It's
direction.
No, I don't mean, I'm saying.
But yes, that's what, that was the idea, and the thing is that when we printed them, they said it's no problem to do a decal to go over top of what was there. So that was a first step to get those QR codes on there. The next step is, I have done extensive work on North Point. Sure. And it's just sitting somewhere in a database file, right?
Okay.
To take this and bring it to the point where the public can access it. There's a lot of steps. I'm not afraid of those steps. I would love to have someone else join me on the journey. For example, I've been telling Rick, each park has a master plan that we worked on several years. I spent 2 years working on a master plan, not just about not just a map, but what the flora and fauna are there. We have all this content about that, but it has to be made into a format that is public friendly, I can say. It's just, it needs to be done. So it wasn't a priority at that time, but I think it should be a priority. And the more I can hand off to Jean, then let's do it. Like, who's ready? TRLC.
They are far more capable. So in each of the categories, I filled in what I could fill in. And then I gave it to the rest of the group and said like, yeah, I'll do. I don't know. So my view would be, we could take that format and the basics are done, but so we could start to picking 2 or 3 paragraphs. actually fill in all the, so those very sophisticated documents. And I believe that with every single park, we at least have a paragraph.
You'll
All we
hold
need is
do.
a map. So,
Only have the paragraphs from that. I hope that.
So each of them have a couple of sentences to
Yeah.
go back to when I review, is that, it would be really nice that when somebody does, I'm not a web designer and I'm never gonna discredit anything that's been already worked on so much. You guys assigned me on the first month that I'm on the board to review. the
No, this is
website,
great.
I'm just giving them.
Yeah,
no, this is
I
great.
like it because it
And
brings us
then
back to
I
something,
went to
yeah.
every single one, and I scanned the key QR, it took me exactly the same place, and as a layman, when I click on learning about Glen Park, there was no link. So when you click on this, it doesn't so much need the map, but just a click that goes, there's the picture of Glen Park, and then it kind of does a descriptor. That's what I'm saying as we develop.
Totally agree. I'm not disagreeing with anything. I'm saying,
I'm gonna do some action.
exactly, let's get it back going again.
So would you, take a picture that you think would be the best picture for then each of the parks?
Absolutely.
And get me that picture, and we'll just start with that.
If you just, yeah, I can do that, without, I would hope that I wasn't interfering with, if you're asking me to do that, I can do that, but I do not want to step on more.
No,
There's nothing.
Absolutely not. So just as background, the website was managed by one of our many clerks ago. She was the only person that could teach it. And if you looked at her site, it was just so
It's
old.
beautiful.
Well, no, there's still, there's
room
a
for
lot
all,
of
and I
stuff
love
there.
that you're wanting to put this back.
But let's take incremental steps. For example,
Yes.
I put Mickey on. I don't know what the hell happened. I took Paul off, so that was a mistake on my part as I learned how to figure this out. So we have a few constraints. This vendor has this certain format. And when I was making those updates, Michelle and I talked about adding an additional column. What was the column that they're gonna
Terms.
terms? And then in the most recent meeting, they mentioned that they wanted to add another or two, and I said, well, we like that idea too, because the only way I can do it, right, this, I'm constrained to this format, I would have to put a comma in there and then put the term, and that just kind of. So I just want to make a little bit of progress, and I'm throwing it out there. We started with pictures, and then what parks do we really need a map? I don't
North
think we need a
Point,
map for Carton. We
North
don't
Point
need
and
it for
Glen.
Eagle View.
And we do have maps for
Yeah.
Glen, Langland, and they're on there. But there's a flow issue, like
I like-
how do you find it?
I'll get, if you could get me QR, if you could take the QR code to that picture, is there a way for you to do that? And
Can you say that again? I'm not clear.
well, so you click on a QR.
You know,
No,
when she's in the
I
park,
scan sign.
you scan a sign. If you wanna go to a picture in the map. They are in there, but they're under maps, not under the QR code. So what I really need to do is go back to Tom, the sign place, and work on getting the decals to take you to the sign.
Meeting. Give us that. Estimates, just a little action plan that gets us a little bit better next month than we are this.
Just add one thing to that too. Best way to think about it, the QR code is the card. You don't want to put. You need to figure out exactly where.
The other things that we can look at. Like certification, committee application, and big survey and North Point survey. The only thing I have out there right now is the North Point survey, and place that I put it, which is up to everybody, is right here. Do you support a new shelter? A concern. It's the only one that I have. Is it places or put it?
say to the group, one of the things I liked about where he put it was that if people have gone in and requested notifications, when he puts it in news and announcement, it automatically doesn't push. And so, you got it, yeah.
I got it and I responded.
Yes, good, thank you. And based
So
on.
one.
We got more than one, but one of the things that was nice, and I know this is not scientific or anything, but one of the things that was nice is some people made comments about the content of the survey. So I did a little update. So we're not gonna be in scientific, and I do understand scientific, is good. But we have a couple of limitations. One is we can't stop people from filling it out times. You can't do that. And I have somewhat limited just the formatting of the forms, but the one reason we stick with this is because it's all contained within it's not a third party, it is the township's information all the way through. So it's on our website and the data that we get stays within the township, doesn't go to. Made some changes and I'm excited about that. Long term, I'm not sure that's a great place to put it in the beginning.
Let me just get everybody sort of up to speed on know what our limitations are. Whenever you're making an update to our site, no matter what it is, you upload a document, you do anything, there's a button that's always clicked, make it a persistent link. And if you do that, it goes here in these groups of like 5 or 6, right? And so the very first thing I did was, this thing was like 8 pages long and it was stupid. So I asked the group, can we limit this to just 3 or 4 things? When a person comes to your website, if they don't see what they want in 2 seconds, they're gone. So I don't want very much here, but because there was really no place to put Trails Project and the GMEs, in my druthers, there would be maybe 4 things here. If surveys is one of those and the group thinks that we should do that, okay, but I just want you to know those are some of the limitations. Otherwise, I'm sort of stuck with these kinds of things that I've got place to fit it in. So it was very easy now for me to put it in announcements. Obviously, it's not an agenda or a meeting minute. It's not us. So it's either they, some are over here, and then one of stuff. So
Why
I
is
just
he
want you to
just-
understand kind of how it works and living within those constraints, where do you think we should be putting these things?
Well, you can move history out of there and put something else there.
Well, okay, so at this point, history takes us to this and this.
Which should be under community. We keep having this conversation.
I would have to, when you guys have me to say,
Section, well, it's Ed that manages the site. Ed has got to be the one that does it. I think Cindy might have access to the full site. You can only touch stuff here. We want to get rid of it here until this is where you want to put it. Maps. So these are the maps that I think that show.
Put that on so they can,
I use.
no, those are not the ones.
Yeah, no, you had me.
That's
put
not
the
it.
Other maps.
To the individual. I did put them under the individual. So if you go back,
We just.
I don't think they're there. I did not find it in it.
township parks,
Go to it, you'll
go
see.
to township park. Well,
Go.
Oh, township first.
And so when I click on,
North Point. Here's the map.
there's the map.
Yeah.
So you would want that as your first on the QR codes. If you want people to be able to access things.
This is. We should have a separate conversation, but I just wanted everybody to know, because each one of you is asked each month to look at it and come up with suggestions. We kind of got to live within this. We're about to move to a new vendor and get more flexibility, but. So.
Strategics. You said you wanted to discuss stuff.
So, okay, well, let's,
We discussed it last month and said, put it out there and then we can fiddle with it once people start responding, which is what
Where
happened.
do we put it?
Well, that's one that should be long-standing because that's continuous feedback.
So are we then going to survey thing, I mean,
And I don't have it.
how do we wanna do it?
I think that was the bottom button.
Sorry?
So make it the bottom button, so it's
Add
always
any
the
more,
last
make it
button.
surveys and only have one there right now.
It doesn't say surveys. How about it says something like, give your feedback?
Yeah.
Something a little more peppy.
Come up with some words. Like,
We want your feedback. You know, that's one thing I think the people like to use. We want your feedback. We want your input.
yeah, yeah, because we're a community, we're little, and
Yes,
Is that okay, or is there?
no, like the full thing, like, give us your feedback. I don't know, is that the phrase people like, or, you know, your thoughts are important, I don't know, something like that, take a survey. How many words can you fit in there? You got quite a few. Yeah, let's decide that after.
Just in one line, so give us your feedback, I think. Joy?
It's good.
yes,
You like that? Little smiley face.
because you said give, so it's like, oh.
Okay, within that, there's going to be the strategic survey and there's going to be the Langland survey. Cindy asked the planning commission to change the words from the planning commission shall. You want to have an even amount. Necessarily, because remember, we're just a recommending team. They are the decision makers, so they've got to have an odd number. We don't. And even if you just make sure that. So I was in support of them saying, changing it from shall be 9 to shall be a minimum of. So I think that will be a change, and then it's up to us if we decide that we would want to add them.
One shot, so it's even.
Okay, so that was something that happened, and I thought that was interesting, so, you know, I'll try to follow up to make sure that that actually happens. Because we've never really gotten out something. The board agreed that iChannel is a great thing for volunteers with kids, and as far as they were concerned, they don't need to be the ones that enter it, as long as someone does. So can anyone either log in?
I spoke to the school, and so really, I mean, it's up, I mean, if we make a policy that all these people, any volunteer has to do it. But I think mainly it's just when we work with kids.
Yes.
And if it's from the school wants to be the one that enters the. And then, so what we would have to do is. Say I wanna be the, like. It's pretty limited stuff.
Very-
They run it through iChat, you come back clean or. Exactly.
Sorry.
Things are happening right now, they have to be. So the field trip, people who are on the field. trip,
Yep.
How do they want to handle? Cheers.
And actually, they're not so concerned about that, cause if it was let's say we're gonna camp out. It's then they're sending, let's say. Stuck. It's like, let's say if you went to. Kids would go to theater. So, just saying, people that are working your event are. Choose to have them get iChat, we can do it, but they're not requiring it, so we can say, okay. Well,
Let's try it. Let's just try it one time. We doing our,
I guess I need some clarity from the committee and from the Parks and Rec and where the township stands. If we have a group of volunteers that are here tied to the committee, do we then separately chat our volunteers?
That's what I was-
To children, but that,
that was my expectation.
I would question
You-
whether we then
Because-
separately make our own chat. Anybody that's going to be tied to May 21st.
Can. Just so you know, there's
The
the,
goal is not required. But the responsibility should, in my opinion, based on conversations that I've had, everything I've seen about other persons. You,
and that's easy, like, then,
so that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Who's
Jennifer would be the one that was like Jennifer's.
just said that she,
It's a meeting. I mean, we agree that it should not be. So,
so since I, so Gene and I quit,
I don't know if she's right. What?
see,
Well, in order to use iChat,
That's
governmental agencies, okay, Matt Kiefer is gonna say, give me.
that was my understanding, is that the township would set up the account,
Yes,
get the names and birthdays.
and maybe
And I
she
put 'em
gives
in.
you the. She gives you. May not understand the fact, because the only way to access that, I mean, you can, I think there's a one possible, it's free for schools and churches and government agencies offered to the state. It's one of those. If you're not, yeah.
which you would, okay, be me, but. Say,
And maybe, yeah, it's an elected guy. Stuff.
That's what they said, they like the idea of human beings.
explain more.
So. She, had,
You're-
that has turned into me revising our center. But essentially what we are doing now, whether it's a school or a UCD event, we have a partner agreement. And essentially how that will work is if like the school is the school's policies will take place and UCD is not liable for anything that essentially the school has agreed to be the responsible for vetting.
Yes, and they want to be.
But in a situation, let's just spitball a situation where we are parking at the school. And it's here that the township brings gets into trouble. From the schools people, it was the township people, when there was no form due diligence yet to make sure that there was nothing.
Did you enter then into a verbal contract or was it written?
We will,
It's a-
I generated a written
Written.
ship agreement. We have 3 documents that go for everything, and it outlines whether MCD is the host, is responsible for volunteer recruitment. This is our policy. If that is the case, we will chat. He's responsible for registering or anything like that. MCD
that's-
staff. See, they need to be aware of what we need to do, and we're not liable.
That's interesting because we are going to have, because Catherine is doing programming with Jean. So there's. The township has, I think we're all in agreement that the township has to run an IG. It's the devil in the details. Who's gonna sign up?
All you gotta do is make, it says, cheers and be.
Subjected to ISO.
So that's it. That's the assignment. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, I'm waiting, and whenever you have that all done, they said they would send it to me.
So it might be.
Sounds like you've been busy over there.
Toiletries, I don't know, adding information to their website, placing groups, no signs on M22, the group emphasizes the importance of providing a good experience for riders.
I don't know where that came from. It wasn't added? Just.
Maybe it's just in my interpretation of a meeting, but anyway, the toiletries, what's going on with that?
Okay, so I have reached out to Jonathan Kane. First of all, thank you very much for all the input that I've gotten. Jonathan Kane is the contact person, that I was given through Campus SIBO. I have the paperwork here. Here's the flyer. And they are very interested in using Glen Park
Yay!
I've sent it to you, the kind of the email that I sent. So Jonathan Kane said, absolutely, there are only a couple of questions. I have not responded to the big picture because I asked him, I got too excited in the very lot that he responded that he's very interested. He needed clarification on parking, and I did, I counted my spaces, walked over there, and I estimated that we could put 6 cars in there. However, I would recommend not 6 in there. But I said a couple cars to occupy the space for the bikes would be appropriate. And he said he has 2 lead cars that would be coming through. So let me, if you got a quick moment, I'd like to say that hello, Chelsea. His response is, thank you very much for reaching out and for the suggestion that Glen Park you mentioned happens to be right next to where we plan to ride and would be a perfect location for an aid station for us. Sounds like it has everything we need there. I said 1 ADA portable potty. I didn't call it potty. And I said picnic tables. I did not have and mentioned it in my initial email, and that's why he asked me back. And I'm sorry if I sent the email to you going or using Village any input. Michelle told me that what she interpreted was we would propose Glen Park as their stop. So what I also did was link the bathroom 1 mile down in Village Park. If they don't want to use portable restrooms, there would be that access. Here are the couple questions that need to be worked on as a group, because I don't feel comfortable being a novice. One is they would like to know. We would be there on August 13th after lunch, probably about 1 to 3 p.m. time frame. August 13th after lunch. They would be rolling through up to 90 people, 2 lead cars. And it would be an aid station setup. It would be pretty formal. And what they are asking of us is our riders will probably be pretty spread out by the time they arrive. So I don't think we would have more than 8 to 10 riders there at one time. It would be would need to be fairly short, but if there is a way to do some kind of walking tour talking about the area and the trees, that is always very much appreciated by the riders. We also love to be able to interact with locals. So if a committee or another group you would recommend would like to meet us there, it would be great to set up something where we could interact with the local community. Let me know your additional thoughts. And so I responded about the parking, because that was a question, and then I got excited and said, I'll be back in touch, because I really need you to help me on guiding this. By leading it, do we have something that we want to set up formally? I mean, like, or do I just do the walking tour with signs where we put in the ground, like, have them? I am available to stay there, but I am the least knowledgeable about it. And then thanks to Josh and Ryan, the link of information, Josh sent me the detailed description about Glen Park and what he does in the August walking tour about trees. There were also, and that would bring up that I have taken some pictures of some areas in the park that need attention from maintenance. One, missing boards and off boards on the walkways, things like that, before we even get to August. So let me end with that. Any questions?
So there's two parkings.
At the top?
At the top,
He only needed two. He said
There's
that's
two.
really.
I'm just wondering though, well, we can always block it off to say today. Would reserve that higher. And if you want to access it in your general. Although from up top, it's quite a walk in, since we removed those stairs. Is there any chance you're available that day?
Good check, yeah.
Because you're always fun and interesting. And I don't know if anyone from the concert, because you guys are doing something else. There.
Same day, city of Manistee. So
And is Josh not doing that kind of stuff anymore?
Josh's schedule,
Maybe now that you have the
What I
date.
could
get
do
back
is
to-
now that I have you on an email, I could just ask, just
Okay.
put it out. to
And
John
Leanne
and
is-
Say, are you available to participate? So tie Brian into the same.
Yeah. And Leanne is wonderful too. She lives right next to it, so she knows that part. And she's a good speaker, interesting.
Response.
I didn't take it that way. I just think that my interpretation of when I read it was that she thinks that they won't be as interested in history. They don't know history, which is very interesting.
For me, as I said in the email to Jonathan Kane, first of all, remember though that Jonathan Kane approached to SIBO by word of mouth job. That's how this is
That's
all.
interesting.
And so I have the email correspondence that built from this. So this was Josh recommending to the tree fund where to go.
Okay.
And so, and that was booked, so it comes back, and so I linked that into my response to Jonathan Kane so that he was already aware that we do have a link in Glen. So I think it's a great opportunity, but I don't think we have to do too much either, though. I really don't. I would also say this is an opportunity for the business community
I was gonna ask
to start thinking about how we approach about volunteer stuff that goes on, like maybe an ice cream cone kind of thing with the ice cream shop, that kind of stuff.
do they have time? Do you know how much time so we have 8 to 10 at once. How long is at once? Is at once
He
10
thinks
minutes?
it'll be between 1 and 3. Originally, it was 10.
Are they stopping that whole time, or is it they're coming through and?
They're coming through on their way to Manistee, and the way he said is timing wise is they would be stopping for lunch up in north of Arcadia. So they're coming down to us between 1 and 3, 8 to 10 riders at a time will roll through, and then they're saying up to 9 on that 90 bikes.
How long?
No idea.
That was my question.
We do not.
So that's a good question to ask them.
I should-
Like, how much time will they have in the park? Can they get back to the springs?
It would need to be fairly short, but if there is,
What is fairly
we
short?
do some kind of. Okay,
Yeah.
so how short is short?
Yes, because if it's 10 minutes, you can easily talk to Brian and get back to the Springs or have Leanne, straight Leanne. I mean, I've heard Leanne's talk, I will be happy to be there, if it's at all possible, though I have very little. But so they don't need snacks from us, or they do?
No, they don't.
Well, they want to interact with locals. I think Bob Blackmore should go.
Hey, they said,
Yeah.
it was nice.
Just to sum up, so we can move on that is ask the questions about how short is short. Formulate an email question to educated people on these matters to include and see if they're available on that day. And then how would we approach getting the message out to the village businesses about that day? I can, okay.
Or you can- Yes, they love flyers. They all love flyers. In fact, I just had a little thought. We should probably let the public know that they're through on that day and then Glenn be actually cool. Do the same thing with. Should go into news and announcements. News and announcements.
News and updates section.
But I would do that closer to the date, like, so like on May 19th, in news and announcements, it should say Norfolk usually closed on the 21st.
Thinking news and announcements. Signed, it's all locals to go up top.
We will have a sign by then, because I'm going to be overseeing soon.
And what is the sign gonna say?
I was just gonna say, go up top.
Oh,
You mean the parking? Yes, we have signage. I have enough thing. Thank you. It's supposed to be done by Memorial Day.
Right, that's June. June. And not again until next year.
Something like,
Let's do the two or three sites coming through, well, those type of events all have.
Outside, or, yeah.
Calendar or something?
we could.
but I like the idea of getting that on the actual calendar, not the printed calendar, the real calendar. And I know that's tough for you, so maybe when they switch systems, the calendar will become easier.
Cause then people see it, and they'll go, what's that? I wanna be responsible for that.
Oh, well, there's two different calendars. We
Know
can,
that something's coming up.
Which calendar?
there's the calendar, when you go to the website, where you can click on the day.
You're seeing that in the township.
Scroll down,
Like-
that
Okay,
calendar
yeah.
there. And we would like, I mean, nice goal, and I don't think you disagree with me, would be to have all of our in that calendar. However, that is not
This is-
easy to do,
This is the street.
so that, well, but we have one just.
So, it's
And
just
then
the
there's-
calendar that you were,
Yes, a public person would go to the first calendar they can find and wanna know what's going on Onekama. I didn't add that to my list because I thought I was just gonna give you enough, and somebody's gonna be evaluating it next. That got your thing. Can never be.
Yeah, I mean, all the events, all the things should be on there right now. That darn calendar is done in Excel, and it's horrible to work with.
The new ones.
I just had to fix it again.
And just to wrap up on this, this tour that's coming through in August, it is a group of 90 people that are international. It is not locals. This is an opportunity to showcase in that. I'd like to end that. When you think about talking about in the community, it's not just people coming from Michigan. This is a group that is organized where they do this bike tour all over And so that for them to come through and then for them to jump on us saying that they could, this is an 8-1. That's.
Maybe we could get an extra porta john for that week.
A small cyclist. No, and I really do believe that we're going to probably also send them, me personally, take your time going through Onekama, stop in the village. Enjoy the businesses before you head to Manistee for the night is how I would suggest we spend. But I know the village doesn't have a lot of trees, but they do have facilities that they could use. Exactly. And so if they're coming, they're stopping in the beginning of Onekama, they're engaged in watching Portage Lake. Let them roll through because there isn't much between Onekama and Manistee where they're sleeping for the night. So
Yeah, that whole shop right next to the village should have thing there, fruited trees and environmental stuff.
You know what? Maybe we can work as a,
maybe
together, that's our first
thing.
thing, is how does the township and the village work together to welcome you?
Mr. Howell, there's an assignment to Mickey and Michelle to work together.
Yes.
Retreat.
Is that the
You just put the tent up at your house.
Yeah, they can put the tent there.
Okay,
Serve cold drinks.
Yeah.
we gotta move on because we really now have time constraints. There has been lots of discussion about grants and such and so forth. And it was suggested that maybe we should get a grant writer, not on retainer, that costs money, but at least interview people so that, as Rick mentioned a few months ago, maybe we have it's already written so that when one pops, you just deliver it. So there's a lot of reason for us to get a grant writer. We use people that are local. They tend to be the Manistee guy, even same grant from Manistee. So it was suggested that in Michelle's discussion with us, see, well, that's interesting. Washington DC probably knows how to cross the T's and dot the I's when it comes to grants. And then she also got this reference. So I just put it out there in case anybody has a Carl Ferguson, or just for a brief discussion about should we move forward. Do it.
Sent me another person's name and I reached out to him whenever.
It wasn't the Washington DC person.
I don't think so. I'll have to look at my emails.
Michelle, do you know who else you
Can you
had?
send me another one, another grant writer?
So what I did is I went to the Knuckles North people and the chairperson for Knuckles North is from City and that's who they use.
Yeah, he said that's this Carl Ferguson person.
John Chase is my contact and he recommended.
You sent him somebody
Did you
else.
send me somebody else? Same one.
Just that one.
Reach out to my email.
Okay, so, and then you were reaching out for the trails?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, not only trails, but for the committee here, because we have that $10,000 line item that we never used last year.
Okay, but I'll take lead on that. What about Washington DC guy? Should we be engaging with these people?
I think anybody you could find.
Absolutely.
You can try, but I'm gonna assume that the Washington DC guy might be able to see.
Well-
Going to the ask.
You don't know, and when I was in Port St. Lucie and I asked her who her grant writer was, she said he was someone out of Washington. Not DC, just think.
Oh, Washington State, I thought it was DC.
How we came up with the 10 grand originally was we have sort of.
Maybe, you talk to Dave.
That's a good idea. I like that idea.
Exciting girl.
There's also the fishing pier, Eagles Point, or was it, the
Eagle View,
Eagle View.
that's a
Eagle View.
great project.
Another good, should we, as a group, say, hey, we're gonna resurrect all these old implements? That's something that I'm working on with Michelle. To these projects do you like? See what kind of feedback we can get. And actually,
It's out there under the planning. You were planning on putting those under the planning, so people could,
I didn't have. So let's, given the fact that we have real time constraints now, the next item is this traffic reporting, geofencing versus people counters. Yesterday, I went out, just removed the 2 counters and got them and took all the bees nests out of them and that sort of thing. And over the weekend, I'm gonna try to get something to, they're just electronic boxes, like, you know, and I've got to do something to stop the bees from getting in there. And once again, the reporting that we had from like November through yesterday's date showed accurate activity on the north side, essentially no activity through the winter time, just little blips, and thousands of people going through the south side, which means that the reporting is wrong again. And generally the reporting gets really high at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, which means that the leaves are warming up and it's reading the leaves as the people walking through. And those are the problems that we have with those particular counters. So the other reason I took them down is that at this point, where they're placed, and I have to figure out a better place to place them. If you look at the one at Glen, it's perfect. It does really good counts. It's on a little sign and it's pointed down, so it doesn't get any of the cars. And it provides, I think, pretty legitimate counts. So a couple of questions. Do we really need them at Langland? We know Langland is our biggest park in the summer months. 4th of July is the biggest week. Should we take those 2 counters after I get them repaired and make them in South Entrance or put them in Eagle View? Where do you want counters?
you could,
I would think some of our smaller parks, you know, one of the things we talked about is trying to get data, whether we or not into this area. Point, I guess, smaller parks we have, people really go there, and if they do, how many people are there? So it depends what we want to do with the data.
Well, there's a couple of things. Remember in the we said with respect to, you know, what are our goals? One, really good events program and program to make sure all of our groups live up to the standards of the significant intermediate projects like Langland each year, and 4 have some big ones, very weapons. And so I think that with respect to what we're going to do down at Felden, it's just, we want this to represent us the way it should. It shouldn't just be, you know,
Yeah.
should look nice. So, you know, that's kind of the road we're going down. And I mean, I really want to know about Glen. We got a counter there. North Point is our 2nd biggest park, and some would argue that if you counted the traffic all year long, you might rival Langland. I mean, Langland is killer in 3 months, but
That's why I get the data to figure out where people are going.
so then that leads me to putting in 2 entrances of North Point.
but there's more than 2 entrances, just,
Well, I know, but there's
Yeah.
2 parking. Anyway.
and then there's,
Since you know, it's busy, see what you got.
It's a manageable thing. maybe let's get it away from, we learned how much trend. The first year we had really good, because the wheat had. And so, you know.
So you already had your counts.
We had stunning numbers in the 4th of July week. I mean, 15,000 is what the number came out to for that week, which was just extraordinary. But to me, I don't know what we're gonna gain by playing at this point.
So is the geofencing kind of like? It's always included, but we really talk about the geofencing. Thing.
Do you?
It's just because there's so much more you can do with it. It's more high tech. You can, you know, yeah. You know, really wanted to know like what trails are being used and what's not, which I know that there's privacy concerns there, but that's all on the user.
It's a great project if somebody wants to pick.
If the content is good, these things that we're using right now are used by GTRC, but they're a pain in the ass. So, I mean, if the content is good on geofencing, I would say let's move to geofencing and, you know, fix the borders that we had because they were counting people driving on Bayview, things like that. Who do we engage with that? Who's the vendor?
You know,
vendor.
John Wemlinger was working with visitors. He's not.
Accelerate that discussion a little bit, make a decision, because if we're gonna go with geofencing as a superior alternative, a whole lot less.
So much information.
And at Northway, to my earlier, at North, people come in so many different directions. There's no way that you could get some data, but you're gonna do much better with geofencing.
It won't be as granular as you're looking for. Just talking with Sammy at Tourism Authority.
That's who we're talking.
She has this, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
I mean, her system,
it's unbelievable.
and it's all done through cell phone. So it may not get as granular like in use of paths, but she can, who's coming through from what direction. When they're based on cellular.
And she can go historically and everything else,
Yeah.
so you automatically you look back last 3 years, but
Is there someone that wants to take lead on that?
Context. I have a project, LA Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Authority more involved with Onekama. And it's her, what's available and,
I mean, I have,
or if you have her.
and she gave me the numbers for Northway
Be
in
careful,
June.
you're volunteering.
No,
Yeah.
she knows we're interested, she just needs to have somebody.
She just needs to have somebody work with her
Follow.
and follow up and fine
Alright,
tune.
we're moving to the next subject. Invasive species, we're moving down the road and Tyler's gonna get certificate. So we have a contract that's gonna give us an inventory for all of our. And again, parking is something that I'm excited to get.
Sign is in there, so.
I know I'm supposed to bring it out here and put it on my desk. Oh, got it. About the accomplishments thing, that's something I want to get on the website and we'll worry about it. And strategic survey to do. I do think that we need to find time as a group, not to spend the entire day going through my agenda, but spend the entire day going through the strategic survey. Not criticizing, I just think that we as a group need to look at this, talk about it, make sure it's the survey that we wanna have. Because
Skip a meeting.
certainly happy to do that. It's just that, you know, these agendas tend to be pretty full. But anyway, I want it known that I think that strategic survey is critically important. I think we should be devoting time to that. Water supply, what's going on with water supply?
I can tell you that, but I wanted to say that I actually